Hi folks, now we're back to looking at the sample reference check questions that could be asked. Now this is something that the University of California at Berkeley had put together for its employees if they're conducting their own reference checks before managers decide whom to hire. And the interesting thing, I notice when I look at these questions is that these are questions that could be asked of you in an interview at any time. So it doesn't really matter if they're asked of their references or if they're asked of you. It could be that a company could ask them of your references just to validate things that you might have said in an interview. So here what they're doing with the sample questions is they're asking you to write down who you're checking up on. So the referee is providing a reference on whom. What was the name of the person who provided the reference? What company are they with? What's their title, their phone number, and the date that you made your call? Okay, and you're trying to get an idea here of the nature and length of the relationship with the person that you're thinking of hiring, who's your candidate, right? So the idea here is that you might want to get an idea of how long they've known the person, because obviously if they haven't known them long, their reference might not be as credible because they might not know enough about the person. If they didn't directly supervise, they just kind of knew them casually or in passing, maybe they didn't have a strong relationship, so the nature of the relationship wasn't very strong. You might maybe discount a little bit of what the person's saying because maybe they're not that knowledgeable, right? How you might ask of the referees, how would you describe the candidate's institutional, that means company, and personnel leadership skills? So are they good managers and leaders of people? How do they work with senior management? Are they able to communicate well with them? So your third question kind of gets at that, right? Your ability to work with senior leadership. Why did they leave their position? So why are they no longer working for you? This is going to kind of get at why you left the company that you said you worked for, to see maybe if there were any issues or any problems, if you departed on a positive note, a bad note, whatever, right? Now they're going to be asking some kind of behavioral type questions or situational type questions. So in stressful situations, how does the candidate react? Be specific. So they might want you to provide an example, if you were the person providing the reference, describe a situation in which the candidate experienced stress and how they handled it, right? That's a question you could be asked in an interview, right? So they're just trying to validate or verify some of the things that you've said. Right? Some of the other things that I thought were interesting here is what area of development could the candidate focus on? So in other words, they might ask you in an interview what you thought some of your development needs or weaknesses are. Well, they can ask your referees the same thing, right? So some of these questions are very, very good. So I would suggest before you go for an interview, you have answers to these questions because your references could be asked these same kinds of things as well. So again, you would just want to write down your name or who completed the reference check, so we know who to go back to. If once the decision making or the people making the hiring decision go back, they might want to know who did the reference check if they had to go back and question or validate any information that you got. They might want to ask you, what did the referee mean when they said that the candidate should focus on a certain area of development? They might not understand it, right? So they might want to know who to go back to if they had any questions. Okay, so now we've gone through step 4. Let's now look a little bit at step 5. So I'm now going to put us back in show mode. Okay, and look at step 5 here. Actually, I don't know that you can see that. I think I better stick to just maybe expanding the screen a bit. Okay, step 5, which is the supervisory interview and job preview. This is where the candidate will usually be interviewed by the boss's boss. So the boss's boss has an opportunity to provide the candidate with his or her view of the job. We call it a more realistic job preview. It's really just another view of what they perceive as going on and what the job really entails and some of the challenges that they might encompass, right? So I'm going to finish off talking about step 5 and step 6 in the next video with you. So we'll be back. Just stay tuned.